Dr. Reach, are we on? Okay, great. Good evening. In compliance with Chapter 551, Open Meetings of the Texas Government Code, I call to order a regular voting meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Austin Independent School District for Thursday, March 23rd, 2023 at 6:05 p.m. A quorum of the board is physically present at the AISD Central Office to conduct this meeting. And this meeting is streaming live on AISD TV and Apple TV. It's also being broadcast on cable channel 22 through Spectrum, Astound Broadband, and on channel 99 through AT&T Uverse. Closed captioning in English is available on these platforms for individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing. To our audience tuning in remotely and here in person, welcome and thank you so much for joining us. We will move to the approval of the agenda. Secretary Boswell, do you have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Having a motion, I'm sorry, is there a second? Second. All right, having a motion by Secretary Boswell and a second by Trustee Zapata to approve the agenda. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Great, the motion passes unanimously. Secretary Boswell, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the pledge to the Texas flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Juro lealtad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa, una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee. Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Te honro bandera de Texas. Te juro lealtad Texas. Un estado bajo Dios, uno e indivisible.
Thank you. Our next items are under the President's Report. So if you are still looking for weekend plans, Austin ISD has multiple opportunities for our students, staff, and community to get involved this Saturday. The day starts early with the 29th Annual Rosedale Ride fundraiser at 7 a.m. I know our interim superintendent is riding, correct?
I'll be there.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Rosedale Ride supports the students at the Rosedale School, Austin's only public school exclusively for children with multiple disabilities and profound needs. Rosedale Ride has grown into one of Austin's premier bicycle events with over 1,000 participants. It is currently the largest fundraising effort supporting the Rosedale School. The ride has made big changes to the facilities at the school, helping with adaptive transportation, learning centers, sensory activities, and more. And there is still time to register to take part in the ride at www.rosedaleproud.org. Or you can join at the school to cheer on our students, staff, and our own interim superintendent who will all be taking part in the bike ride. AISD will also be participating in the annual Si Se Puede Cesar Chavez March and Day of Action on Saturday, March 25th at Parque Zaragoza at 2608 Gonzalez Street, Austin, Texas 78702. Everyone is invited to march along with the Crockett Early College High School drumline and the Texans dance team, Eastside Early College High School drumline, and the Martin Middle School band. Austin ISD participants should meet no later than 9:30 a.m. The march will begin at 10 a.m. and will end at approximately 10:45 a.m. and will be followed by speakers, performances, and exhibitors at Parque Zaragoza until 1 p.m. Really looking forward to that. And finally, later that night, Austin will celebrate a successful Pride Week with their Pride Y'all celebration at the Performing Arts Center at Mueller from 5 to 9 p.m. This safe, supportive, inclusive event will include food trucks, guest speakers, and musical acts, and a student dance party. You can see many of us are wearing our Pride shirts, so we're really glad to be celebrating Pride Week this week. Now I would like to provide a time for trustees to provide and share updates. So Trustee Hunter, I know you have a very, very special recognition to share for some of our fantastic guests that are here tonight.
I do. I have a partner recognition.
The National Sorority of Phi Delta Kappa, Inc., NSPDK, is a nonprofit educational sorority founded by 8 African American women on May 23, 1923, who desired to establish a sisterhood among teachers and to promote the highest ideals of the teaching profession. NSPDK is composed of well-trained and effective educators in all components of the learning spectrum who are engaged in training youth and adults to develop and enhance the skills, abilities, and ethics that will prepare them to function successfully in our diverse society. Delta Beta chapter of Austin, Texas works diligently in the community with our youth, parents, and various other organizations to fulfill their mission and provide scholarship opportunities. The 3,500 members and 1,200 affiliate members throughout the United States will celebrate its 100th anniversary throughout the 22-23 school and culminate at the Centennial Conclave to be held in Orlando, Florida in July 2023. Please join me in thanking them for all of their hard work. We're going to take an opportunity to have a photo. So if the women of Phi Delta Kappa would come forward, we will take a photo right down here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Might want to move that over. It's like right in Candace's face. Okay.
We'll come behind you. All right, here you go. And then we'll just find our window.
Everyone can be stuck to the bottom.
Back that way. Go back that way.
Find your window.
Then we take a step. Right there.
Yes, ma'am.
Start with me. Start with me so we have everyone look at the right camera. All right, one. I'm gonna get the table out of the way. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
All right, one more. There we go, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
You did an excellent job. Thank you. Take a picture. Let's have a picture. Oh my
That was funny. One more. That was 1, 2, 3. Great, thank you.
teachers are still around and remembering him.
But we need more of that. We need that happen now. You know what I mean? I think that's very, very cool. That intergenerational thing is so cool.
Oh my goodness. Time.
I'm so tempted to
Call a teacher?
funny ears.
Oh, don't do that.
So I had like the script, you know, like what I was supposed to read about last meeting, but it's like so uninformative. That's why I was asking them to like, what were we doing? What were we doing? But I still like, I'm just gonna just
Brevity
read the
is what they-
thing.
yeah.
Brevity.
Brevity.
Right. Brevity.
All right. That was wonderful.
I got up.
I'm not sure if you all caught that, but one of the ladies here was Trustee Gonzalez's former teacher, so that is something to celebrate, truly. So, last night, I'm going to talk a little bit now about the superintendent search update. Last night, the board met with our consultant, GR Recruiting, to discuss the superintendent profile, and a draft copy of the profile is available on tonight's agenda on board docs under this item 3.2, and can also be found on the superintendent search website at www.austiniSD.org/board/superintendent-search. Or you could just Google AISD superintendent search and it'll probably get you pretty close. The profile is inclusive of feedback our consultant and the board has heard from the community outreach, survey, and trustees meetings held these last few weeks. We want to continue to hear from the community on this profile and have created a special public hearing tonight just for this item. Following the public hearing, we will have time for trustees to share comments and feedback on the draft profile, which we're scheduled to vote on this Saturday during our special meeting at 12 p.m. That meeting will be broadcast live and public testimony will be provided. So if you wish to provide additional comments before Saturday, please call into the public comment phone line tomorrow, Friday, from 7:45 a.m. to 3 p.m. to record a message or sign up to provide in-person comments on Saturday. So just to reiterate, and I mentioned this last night as well, normally we try to have more time between having the draft of anything available to the public and the time that the trustees vote on it. However, we are bound to a timeline that is really going to be beneficial for a superintendent search. And so we're kind of speeding this up a little bit. So that's why we have scheduled an extra hearing today, and we pushed the actual vote on the profile for Saturday. And if you're curious and you're not quite sure what a superintendent profile is, it's literally a list of about 10 or 12 characteristics that we are looking for in a superintendent. It's a one-page document. As I mentioned, it is on the superintendent search website, and I really would encourage and welcome the community, our staff, our families, our students, teachers, to take a look at that and share with us what qualities you would like to see in your superintendent. So, trustees, without any concerns, I would like to hold our discussion on the profile following the public hearing later in the agenda. So at this time, we would like to have trustees provide committee reports. So Secretary Boswell, can you share the intergovernmental report, please?
Yes, happy to do that. Thank you. The Board Intergovernmental Relations Committee convened a meeting at 12:03 p.m. on Wednesday, February 15th. Trustees Boswell Hunter and Whitley Chu were present. Jacob Reach and Edna Butts from the administration were also present. The committee discussed plans for the upcoming meeting of the Advocacy Advisory Committee on March 29th at the Capitol. The committee received an update on bills filed that affect the district as well as those that support or relate to our adopted legislative priorities. The committee also discussed legislative hearings and plans for Trustee Boswell to submit written testimony against 4 voucher bills being heard in the Senate Education Committee on March 22nd. Those were delivered yesterday. the committee, and we will be continuing to do that as the session goes on. The committee discussed starting a list of priorities for the next legislative session in 2025 and call by the Texas Association of School Boards for advocacy resolutions for the interim. The resolutions are due on June 15th, 2023. We also discussed ongoing efforts to coordinate with other school districts, education-related associations, and other partners across the state to coordinate on efforts to support or oppose legislation, and we adjourned the meeting at 1:01 p.m. And the notes say that we convened on Wednesday, February 15th, but we actually met this past Wednesday, which was, I think, the 21st. So, thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Boswell. Vice President Foster, do you have a policy report?
Sure. So the Board Policy Committee convened on March 3rd. Trustees Foster, Hunter, and Kaufman were present. And present from the administration at different points were Jacob Reach, Edna Butts, Brandy Hosek, Katie Castevens, Ali Gillarducci, and Dwayne Shorter. We received a brief introduction to the Policy Committee. This was actually the first time that we were able to meet and discussed development of policies and the role of the committee. Brandy Hosek, Chief Human Capital Officer, presented proposed revisions to DEA local compensation plan and DEC local leaves and absences. The fruits of that discussion and the committee's work led to 2 policy recommendations that will be on our April consent agenda. We also discussed revisions to FFH local, which has to do with student welfare, freedom from discrimination, harassment and retaliation, and FB local, which similarly addresses those rights of employees. Finally, we also discussed DEI local, employee welfare, another element addressing freedom from discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. So the revisions to these policies were developed by the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault and the administration to clarify and provide more information to those who wish to file complaints with the Title IX coordinator, the ADA/504 coordinator, or the superintendent. These policies are also recommended for the board's April consent agenda, so you'll see those upcoming. Staff reviewed the work of Enroll Austin and a time frame in which board policies may need to be revised. The committee also discussed changes to EHBJ local, special programs, innovation and magnet programs, and the inclusion of our single gender schools as special programs to help bring consistency to our policies. Committee adjourned at 5, and that was a marathon meeting, so thank you to Trustees Kaufman and Hunter for the time they spent that day. Committee adjourned at 5:03. We also met earlier this afternoon, as in finished up 20 minutes ago, and we'll meet again on April 3rd, really trying to sort of push our policies forward and seek alignment with our values in these policy efforts.
Thank you for that heavy lifting and for that report. Trustee Kaufman, can you share the audit report, please?
Certainly. So the Audit Committee met on Thursday, March 9th at 4 p.m., and that was the first meeting for several of us new trustees. Present at the meeting were Trustee David Kaufman, Trustee Andrew Gonzalez, and Trustee Ofelia Zapata. Jacob Reach was in attendance for the administration, and then Greg Gibson and Ken Ingram were in attendance representing our auditing consultant, Gibson Consulting. They were joined by their subject matter experts, Eric Shefford and Sam Wilson, who supported the construction management internal audit. There are 4 separate audit pieces being conducted this year, and we received an overview of the preliminary findings of the construction management audit, which was conducted. It was expedited to help with aligning the priorities and potential findings in relation to the ongoing 2022 bond program. So as we move into spending the $2.44 billion bond, it was important to have some preliminary findings to help us get started. But that was preliminary. We'll be getting final recommendations and observations later this year. They recommended several things as part of the construction management report, and they shared the management response from AISD and then the rationale that they had for each recommendation. Next, they provided a brief overview of their approach to internal audits for the benefit of the new trustees. This included an overview of the audit process, flow, and communication protocol for the audit committee. The committee also discussed communication protocols for sharing out final reports with the full board, and the issue will be discussed with board officers and with the audit committee at the next meeting. The committee then previewed the audit plans and major actions for the other 3 audit projects that are happening this year: human capital, academic programs, and procurement. The committee then discussed the February status report and approved the February 23rd Board Audit Committee meeting minutes by all trustees present. And it was agreed that the administration would work with Gibson Consulting to try and schedule regular audit meetings prior to the already scheduled board meetings. And the meeting was adjourned at 5:36 p.m. I just want to note again that these committees are open to the public, and the meetings are posted online, and we'd be happy to see people there.
Thanks, Trustee Kaufman. Trustee Whitley Chu, can you share the Austin Ed Fund report update?
Thank you so much. We have a lot of really great stuff to report. Thanks to your support, the Austin Ed Fund raised over $56,000 from 260 donors during the Amplify Austin campaign. Thank you so much for your donations that support teacher grants and crisis needs across the district. And the Austin Ed Fund is pleased to sponsor Austin ISD Pride Week and the upcoming Salute Teacher Recognition event. We are also excited to announce that this week, federal community project funding that was secured by Congressman Lloyd Doggett. Congressman Doggett secured $4 million for outdoor learning in Austin ISD and a college and career pilot program. So we all know that's really great news with budgets as tight as they are to get this kind of support. So thank you, Congressman Doggett. I was honored to represent trustees at this event. And this morning, we celebrated the opening of a new Discovery Den library space at Langford Elementary. So thank you to the Defend the Dream Foundation for its support in the new space and for donating over 700 new books for the Langford collection. The next Austin Ed Fund board meeting is scheduled for next Thursday, March 30th.
Thank you so much, Trustee Whitley Chu. All right, well, I have a report for the School Safety and Security Committee. So on Tuesday night, the Safety and Security Committee held its regular meeting. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend as I was returning back from the Council of Great City Schools Conference in Washington, D.C., but my co-chair, Dr. Twyla Williams, was able to lead the meeting. The committee received a brief update on the district's fentanyl awareness campaign, which has been ongoing in our secondary schools. The committee then discussed a review of the ongoing state of Texas intruder audits and received an update on the district's cybersecurity measures. The next meeting is scheduled for April 25th. Trustees, are there any committee or training reports to share tonight in addition?
I'd like to thank one more community partner. Kendra Scott was also one of the community partners that supported the new Discovery Den. So thank you to Kendra
Fantastic.
Scott. It's Kendra
Wonderful.
Scott Foundation.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have the superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, President Singh. A lot of great things to say, so this may be a little long-winded, but we'll get through it. And unfortunately, I took some of my thunder, which is a good thing. So Jacob will bring up the presentation and we'll get going. So on Friday, March 10th, I was joined by U.S. Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona on a visit to Webb Middle School. He wanted to hear firsthand from parents about the importance of multilingual and multicultural education programs at Webb Middle School. He toured the school and then participated in a roundtable discussion with parents to discuss the importance of multilingual accessibility. We were very pleased to host Secretary Cardona, and a special shout out and thanks to everyone who made the visit possible, and especially Webb Middle School Principal Michael Coyle. It was just an incredible event. Just so much goes into those things, and just very proud of all the work, and just an awesome event. So moving on. Tuesday morning, I was joined with Representative Doggett and Trustee Whitley Chu at St. Elmo School for a press conference to unveil federal funding. We just talked about that funding and the importance of partnerships to help offset some of these costs that really impact our budget. So really excited about that partnership. And the funds will do a lot. You know, they'll create spaces on outdoor learning spaces at over 20 campuses, provide more opportunities to connect our students to parks and nature, support teachers with professional learning opportunities. Additionally, there's also an investment for college and career pilot programs, which will provide more college prep and awareness, expanding college campus visits, which are incredibly important, paid internships, and then visits with industry partners. So just a great partnership. On behalf of the trustees and the ISD community, again, we thank Congressman Doggett for his continued advocacy and support of Austin ISD. It was a great event. So moving on, this certainly is important, Women's History Month. Texas women claim many firsts. Tonight, in honor of Women's History Month, I'd like to highlight two, after whom our single-gendered schools for young women leaders are named. So Bertha Sadler Means and Ann Richards, certainly important namesakes and known to all of us here in the community. Ann Richards grew up near Waco in a small town of Lakeview and began her career in Austin ISD as a teacher in what is now Lively Middle School. She entered politics in 1976, became the first woman to serve as a Travis County Commissioner and then Texas State Treasurer. Richards became a household name following her keynote address at the 1988 Democratic National Convention, followed by her successful 1990 bid to become Texas governor. Richards dedicated herself to breaking down barriers for women. She used her own success to create opportunities for women and to educate and encourage women everywhere to become leaders. Bertha Sadler Means is the true hero of the city of Austin. After attending Tillotson College, now Houston-Tillotson University, and earning her master's degree in education at the University of Texas at Austin, Means was among the first black educators to teach in Austin. She also served as Head Start director and the first coordinator for reading instruction at Austin senior and junior high schools. I did not know that part. In the late 1950s and early 1960s, Means was part of local efforts to end racial segregation in social spaces, including Barton Springs. It's a very important fact. She also played a direct role in the integration of athletics at the University of Texas. In 1966, Means earned the first ever Arthur B. DeWitty Award from the Austin chapter of the NAACP for Outstanding Achievement in Human Rights. It's an incredible award and certainly just been awesome to see the leaders that have been awarded over the years. We are so proud of these homegrown, groundbreaking women and the lasting impact they've had on our young women here at Austin ISD and far beyond. And as a personal note, I have two daughters, 15 and 11, and we often talk about women in Austin and all the great things, and both of them have come up many times in our conversations late at night. So just incredible. So next, I want to acknowledge that this week, Austin ISD celebrates Pride Week. I'm tremendously proud to be part of the district that strives to provide a safe, welcoming, and inclusive environment for our LGBTQIA+ students, staff, and families. This week and always, know that you are seen, you are loved, and that you're welcome. Throughout the week, our campuses and offices engage in activities with daily themes, including differences in our awesome and creative expression. The week culminates in our Pride Y'all Connect and celebration event, which is Saturday from 5 to 9 p.m. at the Austin ISD Performing Arts Center. Students, family, staff, and community members are invited to join us for an evening of entertainment and education sessions with topics such as parent and caregiver support and creating safe spaces. We hope to see everybody there. In honor of Chavez and Dolores Huerta Day, Friday, March 31st is a student and staff holiday. The district will honor their lives and legacies by engaging students and staff in lesson plans and messages sharing on morning announcements and social media. Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez are two of the most prominent Hispanic civil rights leaders who recognize the power of working together to progress social justice and human rights. We will be participating in the Si Se Puede Cesar Chavez March and Day of Action on March 25th. Parques Zaragoza, starting at 9:30 a.m. Please come out and join us, along with Crockett Early College High School Drumline, Texans Dance Team, Eastside Early College High School Drumline, and the Martin Middle School Band. On Wednesday, March 8th, we had the honor of celebrating our LBJ Health Science Scholars. The combined efforts of the early college program and CTE team brought students together to receive their white coats during our health sciences rites of passage ceremony. You can see them there. Together with Austin Community College community members and our LBJ family, we honored our students for their hard work and promising futures in the health sciences. I also want to congratulate Aikens Early College High School Science Practicum students for continuing to maintain 100% of their students obtaining certification. Medical assistant level 1 students learn skills in phlebotomy, injections, EKGs, visual acuity, and vitals. 25 Aikens students, along with 8 Bowie High School students, became nationally registered medical assistants. That's pretty incredible, y'all. Yeah. Aikens also had 9 level 2 students who received hands-on training and are now nationally registered certified EKG technicians. Congratulations to these students for their hard work and accomplishments. We are so very proud of you. On March 11th, the Aikens Early College High School Correctional Services interns competed in the Texas Public Service Teachers Association State Criminal Justice Competition. The cell extraction team kept their streak alive and once again came out on top as the best cell extraction team in the entire state of Texas. Congratulations, Mary Jane Zuniga, Fabrizio Cano, Antonio Fonseca, Baisi, Ethan Galvan, Gabriel Vega Rodriguez, and Denise Mondajeno Herrera. And a huge kudos to the Austin ISD CTE department for making this reality for all of our students. Over 100 students participated in the Central Texas Regional History Fair on February 18th. Henry Jones, a Lively Middle School student, received first place honors in the junior paper division for his entry titled A Social Frontier, Boy Scouts, Progressive Education, and the Turner Thesis. Now, I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with the Turner Thesis. I did some research on this. It's pretty, it piqued my interest, and it's pretty intense reading material. So you can definitely go down a wormhole on it. Very impressive. I can say with confidence, Henry has a bright future. If he's already analyzing and critiquing PhD level text, Henry will compete in the state contest in Austin on April 15th. Way to go, Henry. We're excited to see what you have in store for us next. Early this month, the Texas Association of Journalism Educators released news that Bowie senior Natalie Cullen has been named second runner-up Texas High School Journalist of the Year. This is an extremely difficult contest that requires a high standard of work across 12 distinct categories, from design, photography, writing, multimedia, law, ethics, news literacy, marketing, and diversity. We are immensely proud of Natalie for her excellent work, and we wish her well in all her journalism endeavors. 27 Austin ISD high school students were selected to perform with a Texas All-State Ensemble in San Antonio on Saturday, February 11th at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center as part of the 2023 Texas Music Educators Association Clinic and Convention. These students were chosen for their prestigious honor through a competitive process held this school year across the entire state of Texas. All-State is the highest honor a Texas music student can receive. 1,875 students were selected through a process that began with over 70,000 students from all across the state. Congratulations to the Austin ISD high school music directors and their students on this amazing accomplishment. The Austin Energy Regional Science Festival was held last month for the elementary, junior, and senior divisions. 4 Austin ISD students advanced to the Regeneron International Science and Engineering Fair that will be held in May. First place from Keeling Middle School, 7th grader Claire Klottenbach will advance with the project Do Bioplastics Leave a Plastic Footprint in Our Soil? Also, first place from Keeling Middle School, 6th grader Satchel Camp in advancing with the project How Computers Add. In second place from Keeling Middle School, 6th grader Salvador Lofit will advance with the project Robotics, the Tech of the Future. And first place for a lost 9th grader student, Sumik Chemadupate in behavioral enhanced authentication technique, or BEAT, a dynamic biometric identification method. So, yeah, that's impressive. Moving on, Paredes Middle School has been selected by the Mr. Holland's Opus Foundation to receive band instruments totaling $40,000. And for those of you that don't know, instruments and maintaining instruments in our school district is a challenge. We don't have many ways that we can fund them. Their campus is receiving saxophones, flutes, clarinets, classical guitars, and violins. This donation helps ensure our students have the much-needed opportunity to expand their horizons and develop new talents. Special thanks to the Mr. Holland's Opus Foundation for supporting creative opportunities for our scholars. And then just to round this out, certainly want to highlight the Rosedale School is Austin's only public school exclusively for children with multiple disabilities and profound needs for students aged 3 to 22. This Saturday marks the 29th iteration of the Rosedale Ride, a fundraiser bike ride around Austin that spans 25 miles, 42 miles, and 63 miles. Last year I did the 42 miles. This year I'm gonna do 25. I don't know if I can make the 42. Rosedale Ride has grown into one of Austin's premier bicycle events with over 1,000 participants. It's just an incredible event. We also want to encourage anyone who's just now learning about the event that they can still sign up at rosedaleproud.org up until 8 a.m. the day of the race, which is just in a couple days. As of yesterday, they have raised $90,000. Out of their $100,000 goal, so they're well on their way. Just what an incredible event. We're excited to see what they do, and I'll be there, and hopefully I can get through the day. It's going to be a good one, so thank you. And that concludes this report, President Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Segura. So much to celebrate in our district. My goodness. And that's just a small percentage
It's a
of
small
it. There's
piece,
probably
yes.
so much more I know that's happening. So thank you. So trustees, are there any questions on any of these items? Yes.
Just have a quick comment. Want to say thank you for modeling lifelong learning by looking up the Turner thesis.
Yes, that was lifelong learning. That's a wormhole for sure. It was awesome.
I don't know where you find the time to do that, by the way. So, all right. So next up, I believe, are there any other questions, by the way? Okay. So next up is our report on the district's demographics. Hello, welcome.
Thank you, President Singh. I'd like to invite Christine Steenport, our Interim Chief of Operations, and Beth Wilson, our Executive Director of Plain Asset Management, to provide the report tonight.
Good evening, President Singh, Interim Superintendent Segura, and Board Trustees. Beth Wilson here will be giving our presentation, but to introduce her, we are going to be giving a summary of the student population and enrollment trends and projections throughout the district over the next 10 years, an overview of the area's economic outlook and housing market, and information on the effect of these trends and projections that they have on elementary, middle school, and high school facilities. Pass it over to Beth.
Good evening. It is my pleasure this evening to present to you the key takeaways from, if you could, the key takeaways from this year's demographic report that is produced by Zonda Education, formerly known as Templeton Demographics. The report projects both future populations where AISD students live and enrollment where AISD students attend. These projections are given for the district as a whole, as well as for each individual campus. For this evening's discussion, we will be focusing on the district's overall current and projected enrollment. Information on individual campuses can be found in the report starting at page 50. Next slide. Let's start by looking at the race and ethnicity of the students that AISD serves. The graph on this slide shows the number of students from each race and ethnicity group over the past 5 years. While the district remains majority Hispanic, it is important to note that the percent of Hispanic students has declined by 2.5% over the past 5-year period. Similarly, our Black student population has declined by 1.2%. We need to understand the root cause of why this is happening if we are to reverse this trend. Some of this loss can be explained by competition from charter schools, which we will discuss later in the presentation. Likewise, we have also seen a 5-year decline in near 2% in the number of students identified as economically disadvantaged. Much of this can be attributed to the rising cost of housing within the district, which has more than doubled since 2012, when the district first started experiencing a decline in enrollment. In addition to the ever-increasing cost of housing, the type of housing available is changing as well. In the past year, only 720 new single-family homes closed within the district boundaries, which is significantly lower than the 1,200 closings during the same period last year. Right now, the housing market within the district is focused on multifamily construction, with nearly 3 times as many apartment and condo units, approximately 21,000, under construction than single-family homes. Furthermore, it is projected that the number of multifamily units, estimated at 20,000, will far exceed the number of single-family homes, only 2,500, added to the district's inventory over the next 5-year period. That is 5 times as many apartments and condos than single-family homes. As we see in the next slide, the focus on multifamily housing has an effect on student projections. As we see in this graph, the green line, which represents the number of students per single-family home, is higher than both multifamily apartments and condos, shown in the gold and blue lines combined. Furthermore, you can see that all unit types are yielding fewer students than they were 5 years ago. So not only are there more multifamily housing units coming online in the next year or two, the student yield from that type of housing continues to reduce. These numbers are reflective of the district-wide average yields. However, it has been shown that newer complexes have a student yield that is even lower than the district average. Whereas the demographic report looks only at AISD students, the American Community Survey gives us a picture of all children ages 5 to 17. This map, which is not included in the report, gives a view of the average density of children who lived within the district during the 2011-2015 time periods, and is shown by census tract. As you can see, the less densely populated area, shown in the lightest yellow color, is within the central area of the district, with more populated areas, in increasingly darker colors, are more or less evenly distributed towards the edges of the district boundary. By contrast, the map 5 years later shows the lower density area of the district now occupying a greater space than before, with areas of light green stretching down to the south and the northwest. The even distribution of students towards the edges of the district boundaries are now replaced with pockets of density, as seen in the northeast area of the district. Much of this change is due to the reduction of student yields per household, as we discussed, stemming from the rising cost of housing and the redevelopment with multifamily units in these areas. According to the 2021-22 TEA report, which is the latest data available, there were 16,000 students living in AISD boundaries that attended school at either a surrounding school district or a local charter school, an increase of 1,430 students from 5 years ago. The graph to the right shows the portion of AISD zone students, shown in blue, to the overall enrollment, shown in orange, of each of the top 5 largest charter schools in the area. The portion of enrollment coming from AISD zone students range from 57% at IDEA to 77% at Wayside schools. And going back to race ethnicity, this graph shows the relative portions of each classification at the top 5 charter schools compared to AISD. This graph shows the disproportionate amount of Hispanic and Black students attending these charter schools. With the exception of Harmony Schools, each charter school has significantly higher percentages of Hispanic students, shown in green, than AISD, and with the exception of KIPP and Wayside, a higher percentage of Black students, shown in orange. AISD enrollment currently stands at 73,420 students, approximately 8,200 students less than 5 years ago. The 5-year projections see an additional loss of approximately 3,000 students, after which the enrollment is projected to stabilize at around 71,000 students in the 10-year period. So key takeaways. The current student enrollment is 1.6% down from last year, with kindergarten and 7th grade seeing the largest declines at over 300 students per grade level. As previously mentioned, the 5-year projection anticipates an additional loss of 3,000 students by school year 2027-28. But to end on a brighter note, this year's AISD out-of-district enrollment increased by nearly 19% to 3,420 students choosing AISD schools over the district in which they live. I know I've given you a lot of information and facts and figures this evening, and I do want to thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you very much to both of you. So, trustees, are there any questions? Trustee Boswell.
Just have a comment just for the joint subcommittee members from our board and just in general as we're talking about being a city that families continue to choose and what we can do just as members of our community and really hoping that we can get to a place where we're building more of the multifamily units that are being built in Austin are family-friendly units. And I know, Trustee Hunter, that you're working with your community on a project that's working toward that. I know when we're talking about housing on Austin AISD sites, we're talking about that. And the type of housing that gets built has a big impact on the number of students who are able to live and families who are able to live in Austin, who want to live in Austin. So just want to put that out there as an ongoing project that I hope we have a voice in as a district.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Trustee Hunter.
Good evening, y'all. I guess I had 2 questions, but now I have 3, so you made a question come. What is the district's average for, what's the yield for multifamily housing?
So for apartments, it is approximately 1.27 students per 10 units. And for condos, it is approximately 0.35 students per 10 units.
Okay, so I guess that's what I was trying to figure out, because I read it said 16,000 apartments, 5,000 condos yield minimal students. And so that helps me. Actually, I don't need the other 2. You help me out. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Yes, Trustee Kaufman.
I just wanted to understand what the reason would be for the leveling out of the projections. If we've had a steady trend downwards, I don't see the housing costs improving anytime soon, nor do I see the charter schools going away. So I'm curious, what's the rationale for anticipating it leveling out?
Right. It's always difficult past 5 years to project because you're projecting students who aren't even born yet. So oftentimes we say between 5 and 10 years it gets a bit hazy. What I will say is that the demographer feels like there will be a leveling based on the survival rate of the cohorts going through the system now, if that makes sense. I can't really.
Well, and I think Trustee Kaufman, one thing I would add, if it's okay, Beth,
please.
is that going through these reports for the last many years, one of the things that I continue to hear is just density, right? That there's a density level that the city gets to, and at a certain point, the denominator, no matter how many kids come in and the ratios, though they're small, still sustain a number of students. And I think that is generally speaking, the one thing is over a period of time, we kind of have begun to grow up, and we're going through a lot of different things as we get densify and as things happen within the city, but at a point, we begin to stabilize as a city, and I think that's what that's reflecting. I think the other thing I would say is, what's interesting about the multifamily yield is that we can show it also, maybe I can provide it as a backup item, is the breakdown between single family, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, and then also studio, because there is variation in that as well. So that's also helpful.
All right, thank you. I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind. One is, I really appreciated the key takeaways slide. So, a few questions. I'm really interested in the fact that the largest loss is happening at kindergarten and 7th grade. So by kindergarten, is that when students are about to enter kindergarten?
It's comparing last year's kindergarten students to this year's kindergarten students, because you don't have a true cohort going from pre-K to K, because not all students attend pre-kindergarten. It is simply comparing last year's kindergarten students to this year's kindergarten students.
Okay.
Some of that has to do with the birth rates being down.
Okay, thank you. Do you know what other reasons we could attribute this to?
Cost of living as well.
Okay. Do we have evidence that they're choosing other places to send their kids to kindergarten?
So we don't have that information.
Okay. And then related to the 7th grade, this is really interesting to me, because that's, when kids are going to middle school, and that's also where we see a lot of fracturing in our vertical team, particularly in East Austin. And so kind of hearkening back to the conversation we had a few weeks ago, is I really do think that creating cleaner vertical teams is going to help us with enrollment. It's going to, create that cohort mentality of students. They're going to want to stay with their friends and not be fractured into different schools. So, but I'm wondering, are there other potential causes for this 7th grade loss of students?
They have not identified any particular issues at 7th grade, going from 6th to 7th grade. I think it would be an area of study, of further study.
You. And I do know when we were in DC last week for the Great City Schools Conference, we were shown some census data that showed, I think, a 12% decline in the birth rate over, do y'all remember I think it was over the past 5 years or so. I could just be making that number up, but there was a decline in the birth rate, so I can really see how that's going to impact our district. And I would really, I hope that we start. I know that our CFO is very on top of our budgets, but it would, annual budgets. But I would be interested, maybe once we get past this budget season, is to start projecting out further and preparing ourselves for that eventuality. Do y'all have any thoughts on, I know it's very early, but any thoughts on, how this could impact our district at a broader level?
Well, I think what I would say is, for planning purposes, my observation has been that we tend to look year to year. We'll get the information for the demographer. We talk to the CFO, Ed. We think about next year. I think, as we talked about in the last information session, and I think the last time Ed did a board update, we talked about doing 3-year planning, right? If you want to talk about compensation, you have to think about it in terms of 3 years or 5 years, so that we know where we want to get to. And I think in that same way, you'd want to tackle this, right? Because that would impact the amount of revenue we receive from the state. So I definitely think that's the direction we need to go in.
I appreciate that. And the last point I just wanted to kind of call out was the fact that we have an increase in our out-of-district transfer students, so that's great. Although our neighboring districts might not be too happy with us, sorry y'all. But is that because we've expanded our transportation, or do we know why?
I don't have I don't have any evidence to that, but judging from where I know that the buses are located, it could be a cause for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, based on conversations I've had and just what I've observed, it appears as though once the transition occurs and a family moves out, sometimes they're still working. They may not be able to afford to live here, but their employment is still in Austin, and so they're still bringing their student into AISD because they're here working. I've seen that be one of the things that continues to kind of keep those numbers, and it has increased over time, and that's because more and more people are moving out to the periphery of AISD in the city of Austin. But it's a good number. I mean, I'm glad that it's still at that percent and increasing.
Great, thank you. Trustees, any other questions or comments?
Yeah, so thank you so much. I want to talk about, so I'm a parent who's sending my child to kindergarten in Austin ISD in the fall. And so I know a lot about what my parents as peers are going through, and I'm really excited about the early learning day on April 6th. I'm going to take my child. A lot of people don't know about it. I think getting that word out, we'll work hard these next 2 weeks. I want to support our efforts and be planful ahead for next year. So I'm a parent who's heavily marketed to by charter schools, private schools, and I would a lot of people are making their decisions in the fall. They have to get on wait lists. They have to pay tuition. So I would like to see opportunities in the fall at all of our amazing elementary campuses where future kindergarten students can go and visit the school. Because I'm so lucky, I get to see lots of our elementary schools, and every time I walk into one in Austin ISD, I think I want my child to be here. I love the programs, and if people just saw that, I know that they would feel that same way too. So not so much those big events where you're going to booths and aren't to school. Like I have never attended one of those, and I wouldn't. I'm excited to see the actual school. And we have dual language, we have Montessori, we have fine arts programs, we have digital media in elementary schools. And so actually seeing that in action, and also our bond program and these new facilities. I've talked to parents, I'm like, oh, you're gonna get a new school in a few years. And they're just like, oh, well, that kind of changes what I was gonna do. I didn't know that. So us continuing to get the word out there and being planful.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Any other comments from trustees? All right, the other report that goes into deep detail is really helpful. And I would just invite folks to take a look, and you can really start seeing, some patterns. And I just look forward to continued efforts and reporting on, where we're seeing the outliers, which of our schools are really showing an increase in enrollment, and what we can learn from that. So thank you all. Okay, next we have a update on our intruder detection audits.
Dr. Reach will be providing that update. Thank you, Dr. Reach.
Thank you. Good evening, Interim Superintendent Segura, President Singh, and Board of Trustees. As you know, on June 1st, 2022, our governor asked the Texas School Safety Center to start conducting random school intruder audits in public schools across the state. Since that time, Austin ISD, like all other districts, have been taking part in that. And as part of that process, we're required to give updates to our Board of Trustees. For our trustees, you actually have copies of all of the most recent audits included under executive session. Those are executive privilege because they do include security information regarding our campuses. But as a summary, I do want to let you and our public know that since we last met, we had 13 audits conducted. That brings us to 79 to date, or about 63% of all the campuses in the district. We expect to have at least 75% of all of our campuses audited, so that means that we'd expect at least 13 more to be done. So when those audits occur, there is a member from the Texas State School Safety Center who shows up in plain clothing and does a 5-point test. The first test is to check if they can gain access to the building. It is not meant to try to break into the building. It is meant to go and just see if they can walk in through a front door or if someone will open a door for them. They then check for unsecured exterior doors, unsecured interior doors, and documentation of weekly sweeps of all of those doors, and that staff have been trained on all of those items. So that's kind of the summary of our security audits. If there are any questions that have to do with individual campuses, as allowed under state law, we would ask that we take part of that in executive session. But if there's any general questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Trustees, any questions? Nope. All right. Thank you,
Thank you.
Dr. Reach. Appreciate that. All right, so next is an opportunity for the public to share comments with the board. And this time will really allow speakers to comment publicly pertaining to the superintendent profile. Before we go into that, because again, I mentioned that there's a really short turnaround, we just got the community feedback yesterday and, reviewed the draft. So I'm going to invite Secretary Boswell, if you don't mind. It's relatively short. She's going to read what we have in our draft.
All right. The draft is posted on board docs for anyone who wants to see it, and as President Singh said, is on our superintendent search page. And it begins with Austin Independent School District seeks a superintendent who, and then it has a laundry list of traits and qualities and skill sets that we came up with. So Austin ISD seeks a superintendent who is able to lead a large organization dedicated to goals that will increase student achievement across all demographic groups, with a track record of making strategic decisions that consider both immediate needs and long-term goals, and of creating systems to ensure the long-term success of projects, programs, and initiatives. Has demonstrated leadership and success in processes that center equity, inclusion, and diversity, including diversity of race, socioeconomic need, ability, language, and other measures that are important factors in the past and present of Austin ISD. Inspires trust and models high standards of integrity and ethical behavior, and creates an environment where it is safe and expected for all staff to do the same. Promotes a positive, collaborative, and professional environment for district employees, students, and families, and demonstrates a history of balancing knowledge and community feedback to inform decisions and build consensus among individuals and groups. Is a curious, engaged, approachable, and inclusive leader who possesses excellent people skills with an ability to gather input and make decisions that put students first, while recognizing the importance of creating positive working conditions for the adults who serve our students. Is an effective, authentic, and transparent communicator with strong listening skills and a track record of creating positive school, parent, and community relations. And I have an edit already. We should make it school, family, and community relations. Thank you. Ensures and inspires a culture that believes in and achieves high academic standards for all students, uses data to address the achievement gap in alignment with our values, and supports strength across many programs. A leader with the skills necessary to understand and navigate a challenging public education funding landscape, and to advocate effectively for Austin ISD with both local and statewide governments. Has experience creating and sustaining strong systems and services for special education and multilingual education. Is dedicated and committed to a long tenure in Austin. And the last one, has experience and demonstrated strategies to improve teacher and staff morale and retention. And I'd like to say these are based, we began the meeting last night with really looking at the community feedback We've received all the free-form comments. We've been able to read all of those in addition to the survey responses, the responses from the meetings, and big thanks to everyone who contributed to that process. This is our shared process. We have to be the ones who vote, but we want this to rest on a foundation of community input. So thank you for everyone whose work is really reflected in the work that we did last night.
Thank you, Secretary Boswell. So we are going to be voting on this final version of the profile on Saturday. We do have a couple of speakers here. So members of the public who are wishing to participate in the public hearing portion of our meeting, called a dedicated AISD phone line in advance of the meeting to sign up to speak in person or to audio record their remarks. So tonight we have 2 people signed up to speak in person and no recorded messages. So you will be allotted 1 minute. Each speaker will be allotted 1 minute, and there will be no substitutions or yielding of time to others permitted. So the speakers will be Gracie Hopkins and Megan Vasquez, and we will start with Grace Hopkins when you're ready.
Sorry, let me try that again. I'm Gracie Hopkins, and I'm a 4th grade dual language teacher at Bettis Elementary, and I'm on the organizing committee of Education Austin, supporting our We Know Our Worth campaign. I wanted to highlight a part of the superintendent profile that says, a leader who possesses excellent people skills with an ability to gather input and make decisions that put students first while recognizing the importance of creating positive working conditions for adults who serve our students. And I want to highlight that working conditions part. Our number 1 demand and number 2 demand are about pay, a 12% pay increase for all certified folks and a $12 an hour pay increase for all classified folks. Of course, pay is important, but a reasonable workload is within our control. I want a superintendent that supports a sustainable workload for not just me, but also my classified employees. Here are some examples of workload concerns that we're having right now. Forcing students to take their end-of-year MAP test before their STAR test. That disrupts the flow of preparing for the state test while also damaging their self-confidence before the STAR. Forcing an unsafe amount of students into our PE classrooms. Increasing square footage for custodians while at the same time cutting the number of custodians on campuses. Understaffing our office staff. Cutting bus drivers' ability to take days off for their bid group.
I'm sorry.
Right now, the district's proposal is a $1 an hour pay increase for classified folks, and that's honestly a slap in the face.
Thank
We
you.
demand a
I'm sorry, we have
$12 an hour
1
pay
minute.
increase. Thank you for
I
your
hate to cut you
time.
off, but please do, you may also email your comments to us so we can get your full comments.
That was the gist of it.
Thank you. All right, next we
Oh,
have.
wait, Trustee Singh,
Yes.
whenever we call in, we get 75 seconds, like they do 15 seconds of grace. Can we get that when we show up in public as well?
I think that's something that we should definitely consider. Yes, I mean, not tonight because it's not
Okay.
in our policy, but thank you for that feedback. Policy Chair, you got that? All right. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ms. Vasquez.
Hello, Board of Trustees and Interim Superintendent Segura. My name is Megan Vasquez, and I'm a Becker PE teacher, Austin Ed Fund Ambassador, and Ed Austin Organizing Committee member. I've appreciated all the effort and time that has been put into obtain community input. The draft priority document reflects y'all's intentional efforts and mirrors many of the sentiments that I have for our future superintendent. We need stability, and we need someone who is dedicated and committed to AISD. We need a leader who is transparent, a transparent communicator, who listens with curiosity, who seeks feedback to help us grow, who will keep our schools a safe and inclusive place for all, and works collaboratively with all stakeholders. This worker-teacher shortage can be felt in so many areas, and we need someone who will increase staff retention and morale and lead us to a brighter future, a future where all staff can afford to call the city we work in home, and a place where our students a place that will prepare our students for a joyful life beyond graduation. Thanks for your urgent attention to this matter.
Thank you, Ms. Vasquez. All right, so now is the trustees. So now is the time for each of us to share our thoughts or comments on the superintendent profile. And as a reminder, a copy of the draft profile is available on board docs under items 3.2 and 6.1. So, trustees, any comments? I know we have one edit that Secretary Boswell had suggested. Any other thoughts? Okay. All right, so remember, tomorrow, folks can call in to our dedicated line to leave a 1-minute comment on the superintendent profile. The board will listen to those on Saturday in our retreat. You can also sign up on the phone to come and speak in person on Saturday, and we will deliberate and vote on it at that time. Okay. Well, we will now move to public testimony for items on the consent agenda. Members of the public wishing to participate in the public testimony portion of our meeting called a dedicated AISD phone line in advance of the meeting to sign up and speak in person or to audio record their remarks. And tonight we have 4 people signed up to speak in person, and we have 4 who left a recorded message. So we'll start with our in-person testimony. You will each be allotted 1 minute. No substitutions or yielding of time to others is permitted. And callers who sign up to speak in person are welcome to come up to the microphone when their name is called. And as you come to the microphone, there is a device that will light up as you move through your 1 minute of allotted time. Sorry. And when the buzzer sounds, please make a final thought in one sentence. Again, we ask that whether you come to give a complaint or praise, that you reference the staff member by position or by abbreviated last name. We ask that all audience members, whether speaking or not, please show respect for others at all times. So the first speaker is Cheryl Bask, who will be followed by Bree Rolfe. And just so you know, after that we'll have Megan Vasquez and Danielle Yanes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Cheryl Bask. I'm an occupational therapist here at AISD. OT is a related service in SPED, and we work in all AISD campuses and some private schools, serving over 2,500 school students per year. And I have 3 asks of you, which I have brought up to my supervisors, and I'm still waiting on answers. One is that OTs and healthcare professionals in AISD need raises. We did not get a cost of living increase or any raise this year. In fact, we got a pay cut. Our travel stipend was drastically reduced. Number 2, there are 15 AISD OTs and 20 contract OTs. We need more AISD OT positions created with an increase in pay so that we could be fully staffed with committed, competent, and caring OTs. 3, I'm doing the work of a lead occupational therapist and not being compensated for it. There are no lead positions. All of this was formally presented to my supervisors and the assistant of the Superintendent of Human Capital Systems in January, and nothing has been happened since except being told that there's no money in the budget. Meetings were scheduled, canceled, and a no-show. And I'm providing you the information that we presented in January. Please help us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Bree Rolfe.
Hi, my name is Bree Rolfe. I work for Project Help, which is the office that serves families and students experiencing homelessness in AISD. I am urging the trustees to direct some of the funds to ensure that the funds from closed schools like Pease Elementary are used in a way that can bring much needed revenue to the district. The district can then use this money to pay employees what we are worth. We are asking for a $12 an hour pay raise for all classified employees and a 12% raise for all certified employees. In my work with Project Help, I am faced every single day with the devastating effects of the rise of the cost of living in Austin, Texas. I cannot even begin to explain the value of our classified and certified employees in this district. Our bus drivers, our clerks, our registrars, our LMHPs, and our counselors are essential to the work we do with our homeless students. They change lives. They are magic. We know our worth. Please show us you do too.
Thank you, Ms. Rolfe. Next, we have Megan Vasquez.
I am here to speak on agenda item 10.2, monthly financial report for January 2023. Increasing classroom teacher planning was a high priority this school year. This initiative came with a massive increase of workload for myself and for many of my PE teacher colleagues. We went from preparing for a 3-day rotation of lessons to daily lessons for 6th grade levels. Some of us went from having single class sizes to half/whole grade levels at a time. We care about our students safety, and building positive rapport, and this learning working environment on many campuses is not good for either. PE TAs are not responsible for planning or grading, so many of my PE colleagues are having to do extra planning, creating lessons for PE TAs to implement. Increasing certified specialized teachers' workload without compensating them or acknowledging their value or efforts is not good for staff retention. Please consider making a budget amendment to create a stipend that mirrors the stipend given to teachers who have large class sizes, along with other stipends we haven't been included in, like team lead and bilingual stipends. For transparency, can we share the new parameters being used to create master schedules for next year at the next board agenda meeting and share the recommended refinements from the listening sessions? Thank you.
Thank you. And last we have Mr. Daniel Yanis.
Thank you. My name is Daniel Yanis, and I'm the chair of River Bluff Neighborhood Association and the chair of the Go Valley Johnson Terrace Neighborhood Contact Team. The Coy campus, which we know as Allen Elementary, those of us are from East Austin, is being repurposed, and we are asking AISD board to choose Guadalupe Neighborhood Development Corporation as the affordable housing partner for the Coy campus. GNDC is from East Austin. Its board of directors is from families, traditional families, 2 and 3 generations of East Austin. It is part of our housing coalition and is the only entity in the city who is providing actual affordable housing today in East Austin, real affordable housing that 70% of the people in Austin can barely afford. Further, GNDC is the only housing entity who is fulfilling the City of Austin's right to stay, right to return policy with their 800-plus waiting list of displaced and those in jeopardy of being displaced from East Austin. Along with other members of the Go Valley Johnson Neighborhood Contact Team, we met with Mr. Jeremy Stifler and provided these other recommendations. On this campus, please keep the school, as much of the building as you can, the STEM and Early Childhood Center. I'm sorry, but you are bumping up against my constitutional right to address my public officials with a limit of 1 minute. It was bad enough that the public cannot come here and sign up. So I am
I'm sorry, Mr.
very,
I understand.
It is upsetting to come here and have you all limit our ability to connect with you. You're our elected officials. AISD is our school board.
I apologize.
We have a right to be here. You better change your policies and make it so that we can come and be at this place.
Thank you, Mr. Yanis.
I was hoping to be civil to you, but the way that you are treating us is uncivil and it's just unconstitutional, and you're bumping against my right to petition my government.
Thank you.
So my point is, choose GNDC as the development partner.
Thank you, Mr. Yanis. Appreciate it.
Not happy with the way that this is being done. All of you institutions, the City of Austin and the Commissioner's Court and everybody is, well, I am going to tell you that it is unconstitutional. So don't forget this.
Okay. Thank you all, and apologies for that. So, and we do have some recorded messages too, is that correct? Okay, great. So we will now play the recorded message for public testimony, so please listen carefully.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Ramirez, and I'm a staff as well as a parent of students who are in the Austin School District. I am referring to agenda item 10.2, the ESSER funds from COVID. Specifically, I wanted to suggest that we use the funds to increase financial pay for teachers and all staff, including the Education Austin's We Know Our Worth, which is the $12 an hour raise for all classified employees and 12% for all certified employees, as well as provide incentives to fill all vacancies to ensure all staffing levels match the needs of students rather than redistributing work to current employees. Thank you for your time. Bye.
Hello, my name is Sue Ann Kanmotsu Butler. I am currently an employee at Austin Independent School District. I've also had 2 children go through their education with AISD. I'm a stakeholder as a property owner in Austin whose property taxes go toward AISD. The reason of call is item number 11.3, repurposing Peace Elementary. I'm hoping that the repurposed use of Peace will go toward generating income for the school district in perpetuity so that the school district will use that income for increasing salaries for their employees, specifically occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech and language therapists, counselors who work as related services to provide needed care and support in the school district for children and teachers alike. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Valerie Menard. I live in District 1. Project Director for Poder. I'm calling regarding AIC plans to repurpose Coy Campus, formerly known as Allen Elementary School. I'm calling to urge trustees to choose the Guadalupe Neighborhood Development Corporation as the partner for the affordable component at Coy Campus. GNDC has a long track record of providing true affordable single-family housing in East Austin. They are the only group we can trust. Thank you for your time.
Yes, my name is Gavino Fernandez Jr., and I'm coordinator of El Concilio, Mexican American Landowners of East Austin. And I want to speak on item, in opposition to item 11.2 regarding the Anita Perales Coy site. To begin with, I thought that the role of AISD trustees were to engage in the business of education. I was never aware that now we're becoming a board of realtors. And I think this defrays of the mission and the reasons why the board is to be serving our community. Again, government uses our people as guinea pigs. Why not try this in a West Austin middle school or school in that area before you begin displacing our people? I went to a couple of meetings, and these apartments are like from $2,000 minimum on up. A teacher attended the meeting, the one that I was there, a Mexican-American young teacher, and she told the percent of the realtor, those aren't even affordable for me. You know, so this is an injection of gentrification that's ongoing, but
All right. Thank you very much. So as a reminder to the public, feel free to share any general comments or questions on non-voting items with the board by email at trustees@austinisd.org. And I'd like to invite trustees to share any comments or questions they have on any of the public testimony we heard tonight. No? Okay. Yes, Trustee Boswell.
I have one quick question. There was a request in the testimony to talk about the parameters for the essential areas that are being used for campus budgets, and also the recommendations from the listening sessions that I know were conducted with the University of Texas, and wondering if there's a plan to have that on our agenda. Thank you.
Trustee Boswell, yeah, in fact, you'll be having that conversation in your retreat on Saturday. So we're bringing to you the feedback, initial recommendations, and so for us, you know, the goal is to get through this process with purpose and making sure that we're engaging in the appropriate way, but also not wanting to wait too long so that our principals and our school communities can't plan. So it'll be coming to y'all for a candid conversation on Saturday, and from there we'll take the next steps. But Saturday.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Yes. Trustee Kaufman.
Yes, thank you. I just want to clarify the agenda item 11.2 and 3 and 4 about the directing the superintendent to identify partners for the repurposed sites. I just want to clarify that I'm reading it correctly, that what we're authorizing in this is for an RFP to be developed and gone out, which will then solicit proposals from organizations who may want to do it, which will then be evaluated by our administration, and then a recommendation will be made to the board. So eventually, the decisions that we're advocating for today will be coming back to the board in the future.
That is absolutely correct, Trustee Kaufman.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And when do you, may I just ask related to that before we get to your question? Do we know when the RFP will be published?
I don't want to misspeak. I don't have
Okay.
a specific date. I know that we have a range of dates, but I can certainly provide that and then also post it on our webpage. We do have a landing page for all of this work, and so I
Okay.
can post it there as well.
Thank you. Trustee Hunter?
This was an unrelated item, but it was mentioned, and so I would like to ask the interim superintendent to please look into this and get back with me as soon as possible. The EOC before the STAR, this occurred last year, and we saw repercussions from that. So if that's still occurring, I'd really like to know the thinking behind EOC before the STAR or after the STAR. Which would you say? I'm sorry.
What did the caller say? I don't recall what the caller.
No, I can't remember. I'm sorry. I mean EOI. Yes, I said EOC, but I meant EOI. Before.
Last
Okay, I'm
year
sorry. We're
was
good.
after
We're
the
good. For some reason, I processed trauma. I processed after. So, I mean, that's still really
tight.
close and tight and a lot.
Comparing it, yeah, it's a different problem.
Yeah. Thank you.
So related to that, I'd like to just make a request that we, I know you're working on this, but so we're all on the same page and we're communicating with the public. I would like to have sort of some sort of review on all of our testing, the testing schedule, and really take a look at our policy as well to see if we might want to change some of our testing policies or even practices to see how many tests beyond what's required by the state we really need. So, yes.
So President Singh, I think, the administration heard the conversation that y'all had on the dais along with us, with myself, and that there's a lot that we're working on. I think we'll begin to have that conversation on Saturday as well as a different agenda item.
Okay.
But we can certainly progress that and ultimately get to a place where we're aligned. I think part of that work is also going to include the superintendent scorecard. A lot of the indicators in there are some of the reasons that we have the assessments that we have. So we just really make sure it's a holistic approach to get this
I
work done.
appreciate that. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, and I'd like to really reinforce that I think we've had conversations just about a shared academic vision and policies to support that and practices to support that, really created with our community and with the experts we have, so that we're hiring to that, so that we have a steady rudder to keep us going. So thank you for that.
Anyone else? All right. So before we move to our information items and consent items, the board will move into executive session in order to receive advice from our legal counsel. So we will now recess the open meeting at 7:32 p.m. and move to exec session pursuant to Texas Government Code sections 551.071. And when we are finished with the executive session, we'll return to open session. So thank you very much. We will now reconvene the open meeting at 8:23 p.m. Our next item is part of our commitment to meet quarterly with our partner at Mendez Middle School, Third Future. So Interim Superintendent Segura, can you introduce our next item, please?
Absolutely, President Singh. I'd like to invite Zach Craddock, Delinda Castro, and Brandon Thurston, principal at Mendez Middle School, up to provide the update. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you for having us this evening. Superintendent Segura, President Singh, and trustees, pleasure to see you again. Was here in December, I believe. Joining me tonight, I have Dr. Delinda Castro. She's our Director of Instruction for Central Texas, as well as Dr. Brandon Thurston, the principal of Mendez Middle School. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Castro to start us off.
Thank you. So we're here today. First of all, let me say that we're very pleased to be working alongside Austin ISD in reviewing our mission statements. You know, we're all on the same team, wanting the best things for our kids and, you know, student success and improving student outcomes. So we're sharing our mid-year progress update. This scorecard summarizes what we're accountable to and what we're responsible for. The highlighted areas are the areas that we are on track to meet at the end of this school year. Back one. There we go. Okay. And the 7 academic indicators that we are responsible for are campus achievement, special population outcomes, MAP data, MAP growth, rather, art of thinking, enrollment and attendance, student discipline, campus surveys. And campus surveys really connects to the climate and culture of the school. So for the sake of time, I wanted to focus on the areas that we are not on track to meet. I know that was a request from the board to make sure that we kept this, you know, pretty short. That way we can really go deep and discuss on the, you know, the challenges that we're facing and what we're doing to overcome it. I know y'all received this presentation ahead of time. Trustee Singh, President Singh, is that okay if we just, okay, all right. So if we could go to indicator 5. So the 2 points we're going to speak about is enrollment and attendance. Our enrollment has maintained and has been steady all year at 227. We are working very hard and diligent to bring kids back. Our recruitment plan is very aggressive. The areas that we are targeting, well, first let me back up. We are trying to get at least 10 block walks in the neighborhood by May. We're conducting these after school in the evenings and on Saturdays. We're targeting the areas that are the standalone charter schools that are around Mendez, that are close to Mendez. Our goal is to get our kids back to Mendez Middle School and back to the Austin ISD family. So this is an area that we're struggling with, but we're really working really hard to try to get them back by next year. The next one is our student attendance, and quite frankly, 96% is a very lofty goal, a very ambitious goal, something we're going to shoot for, but we most likely will not hit that target by the end of this year. The baseline was at 86.9. At the time of this presentation, our attendance was at 85.4. So we are also doing a lot of action steps to try to increase our attendance and making sure our kids come to school. One small thing that I know is I do perimeter walks, and like, you know, that bus stop right there in Dove Springs right there in the corner, didn't realize that a lot of kids just they just wait before they come in. I'm like, haha, let's go. So we're trying to do, that's one little thing that we're trying to do to ensure that we have our kids inside and coming to school. Dr. Thurston is going to speak more specifically on the incentives that he's providing to students and families so we can increase our attendance and ensure our kids are here every day.
Can I mention one? I would like to mention one thing on the ADA rate. So we do need to look into this. We think these numbers may be a little bit deflated due to the fact that we were open when the district closed and we took attendance. Now, while we did not have great attendance, we've got to check into some TEA waivers on ADA to see if we'd be eligible for those. So we're checking and we're working with the AISD staff on that.
Okay. We need to go to indicator 7. So the reason why 7.1 under campus culture surveys, the reason why 7.1 and 7.3 not highlighted is because this year is going to be a baseline year. There was no data the year before. So we'll be conducting those surveys the second week of May to our parents and students. Right now, we have a mid-year on our campus staff satisfaction. We conducted this in the end of December, and we are on track to meet the 80% of our staff to be agreeing and strongly agreeing in positive for support of Mendez. And I want to say that Mendez was actually the highest, had the highest campus satisfaction of all the Third Future schools.
About 7.3.
Yeah, I did. I said both of them. So I'm going to turn it over to our Chief of School Leadership, Mr. Craddock, who is going to go over the MOI data from MAP, broken down by student groups as requested.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Castro. So we'll take a couple minutes. You guys have had this in advance. I won't go too much in depth because I think most of the information will come out when Dr. Thurston talks about the action steps that most importantly we've put in place since January 10th. So the current slide you have is our student ethnicity at Mendez. You'll be able to see the breakdown by student ethnicity. And then the next slide will take you right into the growth. So that average growth by ethnicity, Hispanic, non-Hispanic versus whole school. So as breaks it down, as you're going to see a trend across this presentation, 8th grade EL and 8th grade science are two areas of concern. And we're going to talk about what we do to really tackle that. The next slide goes into the percentage of students who grew at least 0.7 years of growth. So if we average 0.7 years of growth in 4 months, that's going to trend you to roughly 1.5, 1.6 years of growth. And so that's why these slides are in, representing all these subgroups and special populations that you're going to see this evening, because it is a factor that we look at Third Future and all of our schools, because it gives us a pretty good idea of what that trend data looks like. And then you're going to see in all these special population slides the percent of students who are already at grade level, because you need to compare growth versus grade level so you can see, are you closing that achievement gap? And that's one of the two areas of focus at Third Future, closing the achievement gap, your 2035 competencies. So these slides are broken down by ethnicity. We're going to go into gender. Not sure if the board requested this, we wanted to provide it. Have significant concerns with female scores in science in 8th grade. We're working on that. You'll see here, though, when we look at the number of students who grew at least 0.7 varies. Female outshine their males in some categories, and in others they don't. It's a roughly split 50-50 down the middle in 3 out of 6 tested areas. And again, percentage of students that are already at grade level, pretty much flat. It's a mixed bag of 50% of each. Now, going to this slide, I want to talk about our emerging bilinguals at Mendez. 61% of the students at Mendez Middle School are emerging bilingual students. They're closing their gaps. So the next slide shows you the average growth from BOY to MOY. And you can see I believe 8th grade ELA, while low, that's statistically neutral. I'm not factoring that in. While it is technically point-wise higher, they are closing, that's statistically the same. So at 5 out of 6, they are outperforming their non-emerging bilingual peers. Same trend continues in 5 out of 6 when we look at the percentage of students who grew at least 0.7 years of growth in 4 months' time. 5 out of 6, our emerging bilinguals are outscoring their peers. And of course, when you look at grade level, you can see in 4 out of 6 areas, our emerging bilinguals are behind in grade level. But their growth is outperforming their peers. Any questions on that piece there? Okay, I want to move in. You're going to see the same trend with special education. So 19% of the student population at Mendez is special education. I'm not sure how that compares to the district, but that's a little high, in my opinion. We're a school of 228 kids. We're going to talk about that. But look at their growth. With the exception of 8th grade ELA, which is a problem school-wide, in 8th grade math, they're outperforming their peers, and in science, they grew 1.29 years in 4 months. That's good academic growth. When we look at the percentage of students who grew at least 0.7, again, only 8th grade EL and 8th grade math. I'm going to go back to that slide. You see that trend there. Those two areas They're outperforming their peers in they're outgrowing their peers in 4 out of 6 assessed areas in the middle of the year NWA MAP test. And lastly, when we look at the number of students, the percent at grade level, you can see that out of 5 out of 6, they're not performing at grade level compared to their non-disabled peers. With the exception of 7th grade ELA, which we need to do some checking on that, because it may be an identification, a special ed identification issue that we may have inherited. I don't have enough information on that. That's very rare that special education students in a whole grade level 1 content would outperform their non-disabled peers. That's rare. Any questions on our NWA data before I pass it over to Dr. Thurston so he can update the trustees and Superintendent Segura on the action steps that have resulted from this data?
Trustees, any questions? I have one quick clarifying question, if you don't mind. The point when you say percent of students who grew at least 0.7, that's 0.7 of a grade level?
0.7 years growth. So that's a great question. So in most the MAP test, most districts and schools want 1 year's of growth in 1 year's time. But if students are behind grade level, the only way you're going to close the achievement gap is to grow more than 1 year's growth in 1 year's time. Our goal is 1.7. So that's why we use this metric of 0.7 at Christmas time, at the winter break, because I know that is tracking me to 1.4 to 1.6. So that's why that's a metric we use internally, because it helps us give a leading indicator so that Dr. Thurston and his team knows what and how they need to adjust based on grade level and content. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, and I have a question. So, do you have disaggregated data for African American students, for Asian American students, and Pacific Islanders?
We do. So we do have that. We can get that to you. We did not put it in this packet because the numbers were under 10%, and we did not want it to be student identifiable information. So we can provide that to you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then I'm looking at the slide where you have race and ethnicity. Concerned about Asian American students and Pacific Islanders being classified into an other category. Thanks for scrolling up. I'm sorry, I don't know the slide number.
Yeah, right here. This one right here.
Yes.
Yeah, so what we do is here we've broken that down, but those numbers, those percentages are so small that we did not factor them into the other due to student identifiable data. I can get you the end totals on all those if you would like.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Let me get you, Dr. T.
All right, so that's our data up until mid-December. So since then, we have employed a host of action steps. But each of our schools in our network is compared or judged on an action plan. And so each of those action plans actually has 6 steps. The first 3 steps are really campus-based, and those latter 3 steps are really network-wide. And so for our time together, we'll focus on those first 3 action steps. So our goal for key action number 1 is to grow the capacity of the staff to the highest instructional capacity possible. Our kids are behind, and our teachers have to be effective. And so our goal is by the end of the year, at least 75% of teachers are proficient or higher. Key action 2 is that all of our students will know the LSAE model, so they know what their grade level is, what they're learning, what they are missing, and what they need to work on to level up to grade level. And then for key action 3, our goal by the end of the school year is that at least 80% of teachers and 70% of support staff either strongly agree or agree that we are moving in the right direction and doing well by kids. So here's how we've measured up thus far. Key action number 1, we have not met that goal. We've not met that goal. We have come very, very close to quality, grade level instruction at 65%. Right now, we're at 59%. I'm really proud of the work that the team has done, and we are well on our way to meet that goal by December. Please.
explain
So
the
let me-
SRT team.
Yeah, I want to describe this process. So this process is something that all of our schools go through in Third Future. And so we call it a systems review team. And a systems review team is composed of retired superintendents, assistant superintendents that are not employed by Third Future. They've trained in our model. They know our model. This is year 2 of doing this. And roughly, I bring them in 2 times per year. I believe we did January, and we'll do May this year. And they conduct roughly 50 observations of the staff at Mendez. They do not know the teachers. They do not have a personal relationship. They don't know them, no professional relationship. All about the quality of instruction. And be truthful and honest, and I charge them pretty hard to look at everything. And what we look at that is an internal calibration and an internal instructional audit. And then I take that, and Dr. Castro takes that, and we're comparing the fidelity of our instructional program as well as the fidelity of our observations and evaluations. Are we being truthful and honest? Are we giving points here and there when they do not, or maybe they do happen? So that's the purpose of that. I can tell you that of the 6 schools in Third Future, only 1 met their December metric. And I'm okay with that because I know it keeps us on our toes and it keeps us always at the cutting edge of instruction.
Key action 2 is about the LSAE rubric. That's when we, as 4 leaders on campus, myself, both of my assistant principals, and Dr. Castro, we each take 10 kiddos, so that's 40 kids, and we ask them their learning objectives. What are you working on? What are you missing so that you can level up? And each of those kids could tell us all of those things, and so I am so proud that we met Key Action 2 because our kids at Mendez have really bought in. Key Action 3, the climate survey, I'm proud to report that we were the highest in the network. Our teachers, our team, they understand the work. It's tough work, but they are well on board. Any questions thus far? Good deal. So here's some just extra things that we've done. We have some dynamite reading teachers, 4 reading teachers, and they each have some really, really strong suits. And so we've changed our master schedule. That's kind of bullets 1 and 2 there, so that each of those teachers has more time to specialize in his or her focus area. So we've seen a lot of good growth in that. Key action 3 there, or adjustment 3, I've been modeling lessons, and so have both of my assistant principals. If you're on Facebook, I challenge you to go to Facebook and see both Mr. Willis and Mr. Rain, who are in the classrooms teaching kiddos and coaching teachers in the classroom where the rubber meets the road. Also on Thursdays, every single Thursday, we teach lessons for each other, and we give ourselves feedback, and we critique ourselves so that our kids who have already suffered enough are not being used as guinea pigs as we practice our lessons. And then lastly, weekly incentive to get my kiddos there at school. And so I told them, if you all come every single day, what do you want? And they told me, well, Dr. T, we want hot chips and pickles. So hot chips and pickles ensue on Friday, or pickles and ice cream, or pickles and something. They like a lot of pickles.
Yes.
And so good things are happening at Mendez. I also invite you, anytime you want to come, please stop by the campus. The doors are always open. You don't need an appointment. The doors are open. Thank you for being partners.
Questions?
Yes, Trustee Kaufman.
Thank you. I have one question about the staff question that you had, key action item 3. So on the indicators, the performance standards that the agreements that we agreed with the district that you would be achieving, 7.1 is the 7.2% of campus staff satisfaction through a survey. Is that your measure for staff satisfaction? Is the efficacy that whether they feel that the staffing plan helps them provide better quality instruction, and whether they understand their responsibilities?
Yeah, so there's 24 questions on there, and then we look at, so across the network, we have 4 key questions. So we look at the effective instruction that you get. Is the school headed in the right direction? Morale and climate is good. I would recommend this to others to work here. We take those, and then we take the average of those 4, and that's the metric that then I evaluate all the schools. That's my evaluation too, that I'm held to.
Mine as well.
And we look and see 80% agree or strongly agree. That's our proficient. That's our proficient bar.
Okay, so will you be sharing, can you share that full set of data with us?
Sure, yes.
please?
I've shared it with the district after our December meeting. We could share it again.
Okay.
Now, the December is our benchmark, so that's his progress report, because then we use that as far as his mid-year evaluation. And then the May that's the indicator of success that then he's evaluated on, Dr. Castro, I am, that I submit to our corporate board at Third Future as well. And we'll be more than happy to give you those results in early June.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I do have a request. I noticed on slide 26, it's the discipline data, but it's not broken out in any way. I would request that it be broken out by incident and then by grade, and also, if you would, ethnicity. Thank you so much.
So one more time, make sure I have that discipline, grade, ethnicity, and
It's grade, ethnicity, and incident.
incident, so the incident code, okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I also have a question about retention. This is the first year that you've worked with the students, and as you anticipate the end of year and decisions around retention, I'm curious, since you're, if I understand correctly, well, actually, let me ask, what is your retention policy for students being retained at the same grade?
That's a great question, because we've been in.
And then my second question for that will be, how many students do you anticipate falling under that and being held to repeat the same grade again?
Dr. T has predictive numbers based only on attendance. So you got to have a 91% attendance rate. And then there's looking at 0.7 years of growth, and you're at grade level. And so there's certain metrics, there's recommended, and then there may be required as well. Now, we take everything case-by-case situation. We're not crazy people. We know there are exceptions. We know there are situations and circumstances, but that's the lens, and those are the filters that we do. Do you have any idea on attendance for quarter five?
Probably closer to about 60, 65 kiddos.
So 65 kiddos, 228 total enrollment. They'll have one of our smaller quarter five, that's what we call it, quarter five programs. But those programs will be full day, half day, students can pick, and everyone has core in the morning as well as diet and electives in the afternoon. So totally free of charge, Monday through Friday from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock. The building's open from 7 to 4.
From June to?
From June 20th to July 21st.
And do you have data from your other schools in the network to indicate the success of that?
Yes, sir. Would you like me to get some you want me to get some results on that?
Yeah, it'd be helpful
We've
just
been
to
doing
understand the consequences or the benefits of retaining a student at those grade levels.
Last year, so I have 2 years of quarter five data. I only have 1 year since we've instituted the retention policy. The last year was the first year, but I can let you know about that.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So you want to know the percent that went that we still retain?
Really just want to understand the research or the data that indicates that that's a successful approach, that retaining a student in those grade levels leads to long-term success rather than the opposite.
Yes, sir. We'll get you that information.
That's great. And then I just want to note again that I'm with a school serving a majority of students who are identified as emergent bilingual, who are coming from schools that are supposed to be implementing a dual language program, that I just want to note for the community that the district is offering transfer for those students to attend a dual language program, since that is not being offered at Mendez. And so I just want to note that theoretically the students zoned for Mendez do have access to a dual language program if they opt into it. Just noting. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, trustees? Yes.
Hi, thank you for the presentation and the continued invitations to come visit. I know many of us have taken advantage of that, and it's appreciated. So thank you. Have a couple of questions. One is about the enrollment. And beginning of year, mid-year, how many students have come and gone? What do you know about mobility and kind of trends in enrollment throughout the year? That would be helpful to know.
So we've stayed very steady since Snapshot. Since Snapshot, we have had 40 students withdraw, but we've also had 40 students enroll. So we've kept it goes a little bit, then it comes back. And so if you see each day to day, it a little bit here, a little bit there. And so that's why we're really wanting to hit the pavement and get our kids back. As you know, we're surrounded by five charter schools. So it's tough competition, but we're really trying to do our best. The staff is really enthusiastic, going in the evenings and on Saturdays, really rallying and trying to get our kids back.
I want to make a note in the enrollment. So and Dr. Castro is partnering and collaborating with AISD staff as well on how to do this better and how to market that. And we appreciate the invitation that they've extended to her to collaborate with that. Sitting to my right, Dr. Thurston, I was about to say young man, but I'm not going to say that. He went from 325 kids to 475 kids at Sam Houston in 2 years. If there's one principal that we have in Third Future that knows how to do it, it's a gentleman sitting to my right. Sam Houston, where he was principal before he came here, is at capacity, wait list, grades K through 2. If they let me put modulars out there, we would, but then I wouldn't have any room for them when they got to 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I have full confidence in this team here. Dr. Castro has also been principal at K-12 level and has hit enrollment projections. They put a good marketing and recruitment plan. Not only are they getting support from AISD, they're getting support from Ms. Whitney Nichols, our Director of Communications, with a variety of flyers highlighting our academic program as well as our DIAD program and the student travel. I'm proud to say that he is sending 7th graders to DC and 8th graders to Japan the second to last week of May. All confirmed, tickets are booked.
I'm going to Japan.
And she's the principal that week.
Yeah.
And how many of the students get to take advantage of that?
I think we had about 12 to 15 kiddos who met all the metrics with attendance, with growth, maybe even 18 kiddos. And so we're taking 7th graders to DC and 8th graders to Japan, and also taking 2 teachers along.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And do you know where the 40 students who have left, where they have gone? Have they gone to the charters, to other AISD schools? Have they moved out of district? Do you have a sense of that?
I can get you that data.
That would be
I can
helpful
get that
to see.
Absolutely.
And do you also know if the students who have left are performing at similar rates, being disciplined at similar rates? Do you know if there are kind of standout things that maybe...
That I don't know, but
Okay.
I can see what I can.
If there are patterns, it would be helpful to
Right,
know,
absolutely,
and if not, yeah,
absolutely.
it's always helpful. Thank you very much. Similarly, I would love to know a little bit more about staff stability and turnover. I know that's something that we're really focused on in the district as something we know is deeply tied to our student achievement. So I would love to know what you're seeing with that.
Do you want me to run those numbers?
You want to do that?
Yeah, so I have those numbers right here. Thank you very much. I will say, currently right now, we have 0 core vacancies at Mendez. So we have 0 core content vacancies at the school. We have
We've
not.
kept that all year.
We have not had any. Our staffing model allows us to do that because we overhire with teacher apprentices and learning coaches. So they receive on-the-job coaching, professional development. If a teacher goes on maternity leave, we put a qualified, effective instructor in the room. But to answer the question directly, since the beginning of the year, we've asked 3 teachers to leave and 5 have resigned. And outside of that, other staff, non-teachers, we've asked 2 to leave and 3 have resigned. So to the point, those are those numbers. But I can tell you, I don't know what number school day this is. I think we have roughly 47 left on our calendar. Not one day have we put a student in front of an ineffective teacher. They've been in front of an effective teacher.
Or substitute.
And we have not had a substitute at any school.
And just to speak on that, if I can, sir, what's very helpful about that is because we have learning coaches and teacher apprentices all year, they have relationships with our kids. It's not a stranger coming in, teaching for one day and then leaving. They know Miss Siggs, and Miss Siggs is in the cafeteria, and Miss Siggs is in the learning center, and Miss Siggs is in the hallway, and she's in the classroom with you. And so when Miss Siggs teaches, it doesn't interrupt. We don't have, how sometimes when you have substitutes, maybe discipline gets a little out of, well, it's because they don't have a relationship with that adult. And so I've seen that, us seeing that, you really see that because they have that relationship with our teacher apprentices and learning coaches, our instruction is seamless.
Thank you. And talking about the teachers, I'd love to know a little bit more about your work. You talk about increasing the influence of the most effective teachers. I'd love to know a little bit more about what that looks like.
Sure, and so primarily it's our reading classrooms with our reading teachers. So we have combined some cohorts, and then we have taken two of our teachers who are really masterful at teaching kids how to attack a text. They are guiding kids in those types of skills. Reading the bolded words, what's underlined, what's in the margins, skimming the questions, understanding the genre of the text. Our other two teachers are really focused on the concepts, making inferences and predictions and connections. And so with those two different types of skill sets, our kids are really getting really the best of both worlds, and those teachers are really focusing on their best qualities and strengths inside the classroom.
Okay, thank you for that. And then the last question I have is about your disciplinary data. And it looks like you've had not quite 10% of your students, 21 out of 227, issued disciplinary action, and it talks about in-school suspension, which I know from December you said isn't a practice, not something you use, out-of-school suspension and removal. So I would love, when we have this presentation again at the next quarter, to just understand how those percentages relate to other Austin ISD middle schools and kind of whether we're looking at things that are proportional. I think that's just helpful to us to have an understanding of how that relates. And then I do think having an understanding of why students are being removed is extremely helpful. And I don't know if you have, I know last time we asked about that and you had kind of the top reasons. I don't know if you know that off the top of your head or if you can send that to us another way, but I think those are, I know that was part of the agreement when we chose to partner with Third Future, that there would be some overlap in removals through systems that we had recently adopted.
We can get into Frontline and pull that and then send it directly to the board.
Okay, thank you. And when we get it, could we post it in board docs with this presentation? That would be helpful, so it's public facing.
Yeah, we can absolutely do that. What we'll do is get all the information that we're going to collect as part of this report that needs to be followed up, send it to the board, and also post it on board docs.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other trustees? Yes.
So thank you for the presentation and welcome again. And as always, I think we need to almost start with all folks coming to us to present in staff out with this understanding. This is I don't want to say a Spanish Inquisition, but I have felt like that sounds way heavy-handed. But it's real. I don't even like our architecture. I like when we're all on the floor and we're all talking, we're having a conversation. And so I almost feel like I want to always apologize to our staff and apologize to folks for this architectural kind of setup, right? Which is not the intent of our dialogues and our conversations. So I guess just to start out, I really like Trustee Boswell's some of the questions around, well, a bunch of the questions, but the increased influence on most effective teachers. I love campuses and leadership that says who's doing really well and how do we leverage that for possibility. And I think in terms of teacher to teacher, and then you think in terms of teacher to student. So just to put, I've got a learner's hat on right now, just to put a finer point on that. When you were talking about increased influence of most effective teachers, were you talking about more teacher to student with that leveraging, or were you talking about the teachers learning from each other? Or some combination? Okay.
Both, actually. So our class sizes are really small at Mendez. We have about maybe 10 to 12 kids in the class. So for the reading classes, we have combined those cohorts, and so they all go to reading at the same time. And that gives us another block in the day for a second dose of reading.
Okay.
And so those kids get the reading teacher with the content of making inferences and connections and author's purpose and intent. and figurative language, and they also get the double dip of how to attack a text, the same that you would attack a math problem. You'd read the math problem and understand all the variables and the coefficient and all the numbers and all the letters. Well, the same thing in reading. What information can I glean before I even read it? Going to the questions, just taking text attack type of skills, and so kids are getting both of those things.
Okay. When you talk about, I guess, measuring teacher proficiency, could you talk a little bit more about, well, how are you doing that? And what are you seeing? And what counts as proficiency? What are you looking for?
Sure. So we live in the office. If you have been anywhere near Mendez, you know that we have standing desks everywhere. We have them all in the halls. We have them in the classrooms. We live in classrooms. And so by 8:30 in the morning, I've been in every single teacher's classroom, probably twice, and I've written notes. And I also do at least 2 to 3 spot forms every single day, where in the morning we are looking at instruction. We're looking at student engagement. We're looking at data and their responses on the spot, and we're coaching those teachers even in the moment, so that in the next section of that very same class, that instruction gets better and better and better. So by the end of the day, that's our strongest instructional period. So that's also when the kids have their least attention on. Does that make sense? And so we're combating that. So every single day, we're measuring that with our Third Future School internal evaluation form that's called the SPOT form, that measures our engagement, our pacing, student responses, the reps or the number of times that they do the learning objective in that lesson, a number of things. And we compare that with our SRT that comes 3 times a year in January. I think we had them in September, then January, and then we'll have them again in May. So we compare that with the daily spot forms that I'm doing and my team is doing on the campus.
So when, I don't know if anyone's heard, but one of the challenges we face is that we test the heck out of folks.
Sure.
Right? And it's obvious to document and talk about, and we hear all the time, we talked about it tonight, about how the over-testing. Well, same extent in a sense with teachers, right? An observation, what is that and how does that feel? So I guess can you talk a little bit about, do the standing desks and the observation,
Yes.
Does that make a Foucauldian panopticon where everyone's feeling under surveillance? Or you're saying that this is supportive? Like, how does that work out?
It's my favorite thing to talk about. You're certainly right, because to an outsider, it seems crazy. I'm doing 2 spot forms a day or 2 walkthroughs a day. They're 10 minutes long, but that is not the bread and butter of Third Future Schools. And don't tell my supervisors, sometimes I don't even get all mine in, okay? But I tell you what I do get in and what makes us different and why we will be successful is the on-the-spot, in-the-moment coaching. So we can do the spot form or not do the spot form, but what matters is taking that teacher in the moment who might be a novice teacher who's teaching for the first year or second year, who is brand new in that content area, or maybe has taught for 10 years and have never gotten any training, taking that teacher in the moment and saying, hey, next time I see that you ask that question to these 2 kiddos, why don't you give them 90 seconds to fist bump and talk to a partner, and then everyone stand up and you hear everyone's answer. So that's a way to do a small shift, even in the moment, to get more responses and more kids engaged. And doing small steps like that over and over and over and over again will get us 1.7 years worth of growth.
And in addition, if I may, it's not when we're coaching in the moment, sometimes it is, making that quick correction. But I know today when I was in classrooms, I was applauding. I was like, you just did that whip around. Amazing. Thank you, Mr. Audius. Great. So it's also, giving the glows, not just the grows, but also, sharing that with them. And I think what's also helpful with our doors open, if they have any discipline, if they have anything, we are there. Kids can see us. They know that we're there to provide that support. Yeah, go ahead.
Teachers do not deal with discipline. So if I'm in the hallway checking email and I hear a ruckus in 2:20, I am right there. The teacher didn't have to call. They just poke their head out, and Dr. T is there, or Mr. Willis is there, or Ms. Terrain is there. And so just being in the power zone or being around the kiddos in the action. Can't run the school from the office.
Yeah. So this is I'm enjoying hearing this. And I'm learning a lot. I'm also interested in. So as I was sort of reviewing, the data and reviewing the charts, I saw a lot, and then it also raised a lot of questions. And so I'll ask a little bit about that, but also look to us. And I'm wondering the extent to which, and I guess I can look to all of us, we sort of have a comparative approach to our data, so that on one hand, we're looking at apples to apples when we go, what's happening at Martin? What's happening in Mendez? What's happening here? So when we see numbers, are we looking at the same numbers in the sense that they mean the same things? I don't know if that's happening or not happening, but it would help me to sort of understand. And then when I was looking specifically at the numbers here, and I was noting the demographics, and I was sort of a little confused by Hispanic, non-Hispanic, other. And I was looking, I said, okay, the black population, 10%, 9%, something like that. It seemed like a sizable enough amount to be something that needs to be meaningfully engaged and talked about. So, as a for instance, we had a jaw-dropping piece of data that came to us from a survey last night, which produced net differentials in satisfaction among different populations. And what we saw was that white families feel a certain way about our district, as a group, black, Hispanic, Asian, and the numbers were staggeringly awful, which is to say, Hispanic, we're kind of like neutral, like, all right, good, district's doing okay. Black families were like, no, we were net minus 32, if I recall. Overall, but here's the thing, overall it was a minus 13, which is a national trend. It's like, that's kind of where public schooling is, right? So we can say, yeah, we're doing all right, except for when you disaggregate it. And then you go, oh my God, Asian families are so happy here, and our black families, not only are they unhappy, they're walking, right? They're making a choice to leave. So I couldn't be satisfied with just like, that didn't tell me enough. So whenever I see like disciplinary data, whenever I see student outcomes, when I see any of these, and then I see, for instance, the black population being 9%, well, that could be, you could be firing on all cylinders with everybody but the black kids. And so it could be a nightmarish place for the, and I'm not at all saying this, but I need to see and hear more teased out. And so I understand there's, to some extent, you might not be able to get into everything, but can you tell me a little bit more about how the black student population in particular is doing at Mendez?
They're great kids, basically.
Okay.
They are great kids. We have a small number of them. They are less than 10% of our population. I will say none of them are frequent discipline issues. Their attendance is right in line with the rest of our student population, so hovering anywhere from 84 to 86%. And some of the other slots kind of indicated their growth and their performance.
Okay. So I'm not going to see it again. I'm just so I with my students today. We were literally reading. There's a book called Bad Boys by Annette Ferguson, and she talks about the punishing room. And and one of the things she knows is if I go into this room, it is all black boys, right? So part of what you're saying is that we're not seeing that here.
We don't have that.
And
we don't have that.
The discipline, the student outcomes are going to be level with other student populations.
I mean, you're going to see some gaps like the NWA that I showed you. But I think if you look, I mean, it's mostly going to be in our emerging bilinguals and special ed.
Microphone.
Oh.
Sorry. It'll mostly be in your emerging bilinguals and special ed, but I think if you look at race and ethnicities, you're going to see growth across the board. We know we have work to do in 8th grade ELA and 8th grade math, but that's for all populations, as it was demonstrated tonight.
Okay. Well, I could kind of go on, but we probably want to go home at some point. So thank you, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Trustees, any other questions? I have one question. Thank you, first of all, for this presentation, and I'm happy to see some of the growth. I noticed for some of the categories, there are some groups of children who are students who have already achieved a year's worth of growth according to the MAP scores. And that's something I just want to call out, yay. But I also wanted to get a sense of kind of where you all think you're going to be this year from a TEA grade perspective, because obviously that's kind of why y'all are part of our district. We can't forget that. And what we as a district, what we as trustees can do to help support you to make sure we're all, we're rowing in the same direction, that we meet those targets, that we're there for our students, most importantly. So just I'd love to hear some of that.
So I believe indicator 1 and 2, 1.1 and 1.2 was based on a benchmark simulation. So we gave a STAR test in the third week of February, to all of our students. And we have a TEA consultant that works with us, and she sent the data to her, and she broke it down, and it showed based on that and based on the cut scores. Now remember, that just changed yesterday. We just got that yesterday, so you're right. So I have not taken that data and put it into the new cut scores, but based on what we had in February, we were projected. I don't like saying it out loud because I feel like we're going to jinx it, but we were projected. Worst case was a D, best case was a B. And it depended on, I believe it all depended on our TELPAS scores and ensuring that we hit TELPAS. And so it was very good data for us to have before TELPAS really started going. So we made sure we found we went to houses, hey, you need to come, and get them back engaged. But right now that's where, based on those projections, we are projected in that range. Again, I was at the principals meeting yesterday and thank you always for, y'all are so good. Y'all are such good partners. Thank you always for including, and I hear others that maybe they're not always inclusive, and so we learn so much from y'all every time we attend those meetings. I really enjoy it. Anyway, but after going to that accountability and seeing the new cut scores, your accountability team was very good. I asked them, can we get that, please? Can you, and like that, it was already posted on the agenda, posted on the presentation, and I was trying to get those numbers, but I wasn't able to get the answers today, so I did send that to our consultant, and hopefully I'll have, with the new cut scores, what the projections are going to be.
Oh, okay, great.
So I want at least to see.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to be, so.
So I'm wondering, once you guys have done those calculations, it would be, I don't know if there's any interest, but I would love to just sit down with you and kind of go through that and understand a little bit better exactly where we are.
Right.
We know the stakes are really high, and just kind of build that relationship so that we can, just understanding where we are is going to be one big step, and I think doing that if you're open to it.
Yeah. And as Trustee Foster stated about kind of comparing of where we are, that would help us too of how we're faring with the other middle schools, that have similar populations as we do as well, because we want to make sure that we are serving and providing what we need to be providing, and so that would help us as well.
Awesome. Thank you. So is that something
Oh,
that?
yeah. I'm already nodding to Heather.
Okay,
Heather and
I
Dr.
guess,
Costa
I
are
know.
They're triad.
Perfect, cool. I appreciate it. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Trustee Hunter.
I have a really quick question. You said that you administered a mock STAR. How was that test administered?
It's a paper-based test.
Paper-based test? Okay, thank you.
Yes, Trustee Zapata.
Thank you for being here this evening and for your presentation. I'm curious, as you've been going door knocking and trying to find students, what have you learned through that process? How is the community? What are you finding out about the community?
Certainly. So we're finding out a number of those students have moved to either out of the district or to other schools. And then some of those students have really been actually just skipping school, and parents have not been aware. And so it's really given us an opportunity to foster and strengthen our partnership with parents. You know, it's been a hectic school year, and so we're not happy that kids are not coming to school, but we are happy that we are putting faces with names, and we're getting more kids on the campus. And so that work continues. There's a culture there that we're trying to break, and in that same respect of trying to strengthen parent ties and opening up, you know, the doors and letting you know what's going on here at Mendez. We are always inviting parents to come and visit classrooms, and starting this past Monday, and hopefully every Monday until the end of the school year, around 2:30 on Facebook Live, Maverick Mondays. That's about a 15 to maybe 25-minute chat that'll give some information about the campus, attendance, events, promotion, retention, the band concert, or the Mendez Music Festival that's coming up on the beginning of May. And so we're doing everything that we can to reach out to parents.
Okay, great. Yes, please keep me on the email so we can be out there and help
Will
door
do.
knock with you. Okay.
Yes, Trustee Foster.
Okay, sorry, I got one more based on Trustee Hunter's question about the administering of the STAR. And I don't even like these tests, so I hate even talking about them. But they're administered online this year?
Yes, sir.
The STAR, I'm sorry, the STAR or the formative data, the actual STAR test?
The actual that we're going to be.
It will be online
Yeah.
this year.
So how do you account for, yeah, you see where I'm going?
Yes, sir.
Right.
And so it was important for me that we tested kids on paper, since that's what all the instruction has been on all school year. However, in our study hall and in our classrooms this second semester, kids are getting online exposure to that platform, typing experiences, and using all those different tools in the online testing system. And so they are getting that.
Yeah, so I'll speak a little, because we started this across the board at all of our schools, so we're utilizing iReady. iReady, we believe, it's an online platform that we feel most closely mimics and resembles the STAR tools, so the annotating feature, the highlighting. We see this in our schools in Colorado as well, so we're doing it network-wide. So we feel that this platform, we use it every other Friday, as well as before school and after school, because we're open at 6:30 to 5. So we're using that. We've been doing that since the middle of October. We feel that getting those students familiar with the actual tools and how they have to navigate and utilize them, that's going to help them tremendously just taking the test. Second thing we've done with the revised STAR this year is students here are going to, for the first time, have short and extended constructed responses. We started an SCR, short constructed response protocol, the 1st of November, that's tied to a rubric that the teachers are trained on, learning coaches are trained on. Every student gets 2 per core content area every day, that's 60 a week, of purposeful writing. And they're talking about it. I was telling Dr. Thurston when we were in the back that I was in 7th grade, Mr. Gray's class this morning, and 2 kids they shared out their short constructed response. All the students, it was a 2. It was exceptional writing. I mean, it was exceptional writing for a 7th grader. So it was well done to the team. So those are 2 big things we put in to help us attack STAR.
Thank you.
If I can add on to that, I think, like what Dr. Thurston was sharing, it was important for us to make sure they knew the content, to know what and then let's transfer that now to the laptop. But, so that's why we tested in, because we wanted to know, was it the content? Like if you do a simulation on a computer, maybe it's,
Right.
is it, do they not really know it, or is it they're not very familiar with the Chromebook? And so that's why, that was another reason why we wanted to really know what they knew and what they didn't know. And so
No, it makes sense. I totally get it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks. Awesome.
Okay, anyone else? Awesome. Okay, well, thank you all. We really appreciate your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we will now move to the consent agenda. Trustees, are there any consent items anyone would like to pull for a separate vote? Okay. All right, so let's see here. Secretary Boswell, do I have a motion to approve?
The motion's made.
Yeah, after the motion, yes. So Secretary Boswell, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Yes, I move to approve items 10.1 through 10.3 and items 11.1 through 11.4.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so we have, well, trustees, is there any discussion on any of the consent items? Trustee Hunter?
It's really quick, I promise. It's so quick. It's like literally a yes or a no. I'm just checking in with you, I promise. I have a question about 10.3.
Yes, ma'am.
And I see that, this is like our fourth or fifth time to do this renewal.
Uh-huh.
And my question is, the amount is the same. Are the services the exact same? We're just like doing another year?
We're just continuing on, correct. That is correct.
See how painless that was?
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Any other discussion or questions? Okay. So having a motion by Secretary Boswell and a second by Trustee Zapata to approve consent agenda items 10.1 through 10.3 and 11.1 through 11.4. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Great, the motion passes unanimously. We don't have any items pulled from the agenda, so that's good. So we will now recess the open meeting. Oh, wait, hold up. We had,
I'll make it.
okay.
So
We had a little
it's-
announcement.
Yeah, it's not
Yes.
super late, so we thought we'd make a quick announcement. So this Saturday between 10 and 2, 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., there will be a plant sale at Clifton. So all of y'all who are out there are going to be, planting plants or taking care of your plants. Since hopefully there's no more freezes. Certainly feel free to go by and support our students and staff out there. So it's a great event, and just wanted to promote that before it got too late in the day. So thank you for the opportunity, President Singh.
Of course. All right, so we will now recess the open meeting at 9:21 p.m. and move to exec session pursuant to Texas Government Code, sections 551.074, 551.072, 551.073, 551.087, 551.076, and 551.071. When we are finished with the executive session, we will briefly return to open session to formally adjourn the meeting. The adjournment will be recorded and be included in all replays of tonight's meeting. Thank you for joining us and have a wonderful night.
Thank you all very much.
All right, we will now reconvene the open meeting at 10:39 p.m. Secretary Boswell, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, having a motion by Secretary Boswell and a second by Trustee Kaufman to adjourn, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, and the motion passes unanimously. The meeting is adjourned at 10:39 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, you're a B.